Hello, this is Jason Taylor, and I'm going to jump right in today, and I'm going to preface my remarks. I'm going to do that because so often what I speak about that I think might be relevant to you and some of you might find of interest, I end up getting responses with monikers related to them. In other words, related to political parties or ideologies, and you guys hear me in every one of these things. I'm opposed to that. The words Republican and Democrat, conservative and liberal mean nothing. The reason they mean nothing is because people don't really know what those terms mean, I believe, and therefore they call themselves one thing and do something else. What I think is important are actions. And if you look at the actions that people take, then you can decide whether they align with your beliefs and actions, and again, who the hell cares what they're called, right? But because I'll get some folks with some comments, I'm going to give you a little background on me so you know the direction from which I speak, okay? I've spent my life as a Republican, 34 years, right? Since I was 18 and could register. That was 34 years ago. In October of this last year, less than 12 months ago, I left the Republican Party and became an independent. As Ronald Reagan said, I didn't leave the party left me, and I believe that's true. As my dad used to say, he always said I was right of Genghis Khan. And, I grew up listening to and reading the works of William F. Buckley and George Will, and I still enjoy George Will and wish Buckley was still with us. My views haven't changed. I'm a life member of the NRA, a patron member, an endowment member. I'm a Harley owner member. I'm a Concerned Bikers Association member. You all will take from that what you will and think, oh, he's ultra-conservative. And then some of you will hear what I say and think I'm a liberal. And that's because you're stuck on the titles. My views, again, have never changed. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights. I believe in the rights of the people. My feeling is that the Republican Party as a party no longer represents the people. They represent big government America, and big business America. And the people of America have been left by the Republican Party. I'm not addressing the Democratic Party because I am not a member of the Democratic Party, never have been. They have their own issues. All parties have their issues. That's for somebody else to talk about. I'm just, for those who are going to call me names, you now know from whence I speak. All right? And you're the same folks who are caught up with the face masks and make that a political issue. Here we are in COVID-19, and the people who are wearing face masks don't have a political agenda. They actually have an IQ, okay? They actually, their IQ is taller than Mickey's hand, okay? They realize that wearing the face mask protects you and protects them, okay? It's not political. It's common sense. It's science. You don't have to be afraid of the word. I don't know much about science, but I know the scientists have figured out that wearing the face masks makes good sense in a pandemic. Imagine that. And then some of you folks won't because you think it's a political statement to wear a face mask. Well, your IQ does not reach Mickey's hand. Do not get on the ride. You stand over in the viewing section with the children, okay? And the rest of you can ride along with me. Okay? And today's discussion is the immunity issue from COVID-19. And our legislators, both in the state of North Carolina and federally, are trying to protect businesses from things that don't necessarily exist at the expense of the individual, right? At the expense of the citizen taxpayer, okay? We don't get away with the things that the government tries to protect big business with. Why do they get treated special? Good question. It's because our legislators get so much of their money from big business. Here's what's going on in North Carolina. Our Senate Bill 704, which the Senate came up with, has to do with protecting our healthcare workers, giving them immunity during COVID-19. Well, some of you morons will say, well, that's good. We need to protect our healthcare workers during COVID-19. Right. This isn't about protecting them from disease or from just doing the right thing. This is putting you in harm's way, allowing them to be negligent in their behavior. There's a difference between being negligent and causing harm. Just because a surgery doesn't come out right and you have some complication doesn't mean the doctor or anybody else did something wrong. But when somebody's negligent, when their conduct falls below what you would expect of people who do that, if you have 100, orthopedic surgeons and 90 of them would do it one way and 10 of them don't know how to do it that way and they fall below the standard. They're not meeting the level required of that profession. Our government has said, well, that's okay. All right, during this pandemic, we're going to protect those folks. And guess what, people? It protects. I'm going to give you a little bit about who it protects. And by the way, it's not just about things related to COVID. Read the laws and digest them and understand them. And if you can, or it's too complicated, ask somebody. But just don't believe the little tidbits you hear on the news. So this protects. There's immunity granted for it, just to name a few. Nursing home, adult care homes, hospitals, doctors, dentists, surgeons, pharmacists, optometrists, midwives, podiatrists, osteopaths, chiropractors, radiologists, nurses, therapists, pathologists. It goes on, all right? Laboratory analysts, dental hygienists, psychologists, all the folks. Plus, guess what? This is great. Any healthcare facility administrator, executive, officer, director, supervisor, board member, trustee, or any person in a managerial role. All right? It protects any medical provider who provides care to any other individual who presents or otherwise seeks care at or from a healthcare facility or to a healthcare provider during the COVID-19 emergency declaration. It doesn't matter what it's about, right? They say that the immunity will apply if the arrangement or provision of the health care was impacted directly or indirectly by COVID-19. So if during this pandemic, the healthcare facility or healthcare business has indirectly been impacted by COVID-19, they have immunity, right? That means their negligent conduct on whatever they're doing. Forget about COVID. They're doing a surgery and they negligently leave an instrument in you, right? If the hospital can say, well, we've been impacted by COVID-19, indirectly it impacted this, they're immune, right? That means the doctor in the hospital is not responsible for the negligent conduct that caused the individual taxpayer harm. Get it? All right. It goes further. They go on to say, of course, it's not protected where the cause or omission cost is gross negligence, reckless misconduct, or intentional infliction of harm. So if they're drunk or they put their cigarette butt out in your abdomen, they're not protected, but general negligence they are. Well, of course, most of them aren't intentionally trying to hurt you, right? They're not trying to murder you or cut off the wrong limb. But if they're negligent, they should still be responsible. We hold people normally accountable for their acts. They also go one step further. They say, however, the provision is essentially nullified as it relates to the nursing homes by the inclusion of the next phrase, which reads that any acts or omissions or decisions resulting from a resource or staffing shortage shall not be considered to be gross negligence. So all of these nursing homes that short-staffed their places intentionally before COVID-19 in order to increase their profit margin can now do it and not be responsible for it. That means our citizens who are at the greatest risk have the least protection. Well, gosh, but if they're in a nursing home, they're not really writing checks to the politicians and voting so much anymore, right? So we can take advantage of them versus those nursing home owners who are sending the big money. Do you get it? The individual rights are being impacted. Now, they went on beyond that, and they've said they came up with another bill, House Bill 118, North Carolina, and it would limit lawsuits that could be filed against places reopening amid the corona pandemic. And Senator Paul Newton, a Cabarrus County Republican, I will refer to him sarcastically as Boy Genius, said that this, he said it during the Senate debate on the floor, that the safe harbor, liability safe harbor for COVID-19 would limit the litigation risks for businesses as they reopen. He said a quote-unquote mere claim of someone saying they contacted COVID-19 at a business that had been closed during the first few months of the pandemic could put the company out of business. Well, most third graders would know that that's horseshit, right? How does anybody know where somebody contacted COVID-19? You go for 2 weeks where you might not have any symptoms, and how do you know where you got it? Nobody does. For a lawyer to prove that you actually contacted it or contracted it at a particular business would be almost impossible. So this is just stupid protection for businesses, because our legislators, if they protect those businesses, then the business organizations and associations send them more checks so they can get reelected, right? This is nonsense. You know, North Carolina has a contributory negligence law. I think there's a good argument from a defense. If you go out into a business during a pandemic and you catch it, you might be contributory negligence for going to the business. Not that you would ever know what business you were in that actually contracted it, much less walking on the street, right? So this is just, for lack of a better term, hairy horseshit. And our federal government has gone and done the same thing as Mitch McConnell and corporate lobbyists claim that corporations face an avalanche of lawsuits. And this came out, and this was part of the Reuters press in May when Mitch McConnell was talking about this. And for the very same reason, that is not likely to happen, nor has it happened yet, because, again, proving that a person was exposed at work or at a business rather than during any other aspect of their daily activities is incredibly legally and medically difficult. But, and lawyers don't want to take losing cases. You know, you take that case, you can't prove it, you're going to invest your time, your money, and your energy in something you can't win. Well, who's doing that case? Nobody. But it's making the businesses feel good, and it is insulating them from liability for individuals for all kinds of things. You know, it's funny, at the time this came out, which was in May, there was 1,018 cases related to coronavirus in the whole country. Only 45 of them in 50 states had something to do with harm to an individual. 28 of those cases were against Princess Cruise Line, and 17 of those, the other 17 cases that make up the 45, had to do with other cruise lines, two meat processing plants, a Walmart, a senior living center, 2 care centers. So in the 50 states, basically you had 17 cases that might have impacted those states, right? And then you still have to win, and you have to show that there was negligence and that it caused harm and everything else. The other cases, for those of you who are interested, about a third of them had to do with prisoners seeking release from the coronavirus hit facilities, and many of those are brought by businesses related to insurance coverage and contracts. A number of those are class actions by citizens, consumers, stemming from disputes over insurance and ticket refunds. You know, like I had season tickets to a team. They've canceled them. They told me I'm not going to get my money back. It was halfway through the season. I'm going to be a member of one of those class actions or bring the case myself, right? Unrelated to businesses opening and causing harm. So the bottom line is, in these legislative actions that protect businesses over citizens have been led by the Republicans. Okay? I'm sorry. As a conservative, I'm opposed to them restricting my rights to the court and your rights. I believe the individuals are more important and have greater rights as citizen taxpayers than the corporations. But that doesn't work well for our legislators because they make more money from the businesses. And so they do these things at your expense. And you're only an idiot if you think that that is okay with you, right? That's fine. You're allowed to be an idiot. This is a free country. Be an idiot if you choose. God bless you. But that's not how I'm going to approach things or discuss things. So liberal or Democrat, Republican or conservative or whatever, doesn't matter. Tell the legislators you're not happy with them restricting your rights. Okay? Finally, I wanted to mention that in the nicest way I can, you know, regardless of how you think about the Declaration of Independence. Think about our founding fathers. For all of you who think I'm not making any sense right now and that I'm wrong and have nasty things to say, you know, all the terrible things I'm thinking about you, nowhere compared to what our founding fathers would think about you. They said when they were doing the Declaration of Independence, which the Declaration of Independence was really a letter to the King of England saying, hey, we're leaving you and we're leaving your realm and your control over us because you have been unfair to us. Our inalienable rights, the natural laws, right? You have violated relative to us. And then they went through and they listed out like between 25 and 30 grievances against the king, okay? And they said, and they listed them out, and they said, let facts be submitted to a candid world, all right? And then they go, and they list out all of these things for everybody to hear and know. And one of the things they mention in here, one of the reasons they are seeking independence, and they did this declaration, is from depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury, okay? Our founding fathers, the people who declared independence and risked their lives, knew how important it was to be able to have access to the courts and have a jury trial. And here the government is doing what the king did, okay? Carving away those rights that our founding fathers fought for and that we've had for all these years. Don't let it happen. Stand up, and I don't care who the legislator is, Republican or Democrat or independent or whatever the hell else they call themselves, and I don't care what you call yourself. Protect your rights. Thank you.